Enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Start looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. On the face of all mankind, our numbers up and the dead won't sound. Go along to get along in the tide by the siren song. The nights are empty and the crypts are cracking open. The woods upon you and you stand there frozen, waiting for the word. Stand in line and wait. Don't follow the strings to find out who is pulling. Just drink your poison, keep on laughing and drooling, eating your own flesh. The master always knows what's
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Wednesday, June the 7th, 2023. Want to say happy birthday to my lovely sister, Hannah. I'm sorry you had to work today, but I'm glad you had a good day anyway, and that's a good way to spend a birthday. If it's a good day, even if you're at work, well, that's all right. Hey, thank you for joining us tonight. I am coming to you live here from Carter County, Tennessee, and I'm on the Iron Mountain. My name is Cliff. I'm usually joined by Tim, and wasn't able to get a hold of him tonight. So, you know how these musicians and vagabonds are. They kind of, flaky sometimes. So, no, I'm just playing. Tim's, there he is. There he is. You speak of the devil, and he shall appear. I do have a Skype line open if anybody else would like to call in. The link is in the description of the video. Let me get Tim in here. Did you hear me speaking of you, Mr. Devil?
No. I was sitting here for about 10 minutes. And then it just occurred to me that I had a new phone and I hadn't downloaded Skype yet. That's probably why you hadn't called.
Oh, that'll do it. Okay, I'm getting you on the audio input, so let me turn you down here so you don't echo for everybody. I think that should do it. Let's actually let's see this. Let's try it this way. Let's turn this down. Give me a real quick check on that microphone, please, sir.
Muffins.
All right. We're rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling, wheeling and dealing. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm fine.
You know, I was just saying, I wasn't able to get a hold of Tim. You know how those musicians and vagabonds are. And as soon as I said that, you started ringing in.
No, just like I said, just totally forgot that I hadn't downloaded Skype yet.
I understand. I'm drinking some Yeehaw Dunkel tonight. It's they say it's a dark lager. It's darker. It's a real malty kind of hoppy, or not malty, but malty kind of barley tasting beer is what it tastes like to me. But
tea.
pretty good. They call it rich, deep, and complex. I can say that,
Okay.
but it's not heavy. It's a good rainy day beer for me. You're not much of a beer drinker, are you, Tim?
I'm not much of a drinker, to be honest with you. I kind of have to, just, for what I do. But I mean, like,
Being a
if I'm
musician and
drinking,
vagabond, it's expected of you.
yeah. Nobody wants to be. It's not fun being sober in a room full of drunk people,
And
and that
nobody
makes them
wants the guy playing
uncomfortable.
for him to be dead sober either.
Yep, and they get pretty insulted. If I'm going to drink, and it's going to be out in like just out in places, I'd prefer wine or ciders, just
Yeah.
because I know they're easier to drink. They're not too strong. But if I was at home and I was drinking, I'd prefer just go straight for the high octane, just because if I'm not going to enjoy the taste anyway, might as well go ahead and get it done quicker.
So you don't like
Yeah.
wine?
I like wine, okay. But I'm saying, like, if you're at home and you want to get, like, if you're drinking for the sake of getting drunk, you might
Yeah.
as well just go for the shots,
Yeah, this is true. When
No, I
you're,
like wine quite a bit.
what kind do you like? I mean, well, that's a kind of a stupid question because people ask me that and I'm like, well, because it just
Primarily
depends.
Watts.
Huh?
Primarily Watts.
Primarily whites.
I just think the Reds have a almost like a film to them, like they're
Yeah, I know what you mean.
you know what I mean?
They
Yeah,
coat,
it feels
they
like a
coat
coat
your
your
mouth
tongue and
more.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I like I tend to prefer a red, but I like different wines for different situations, and they really do pair better with different foods. Some you want a white wine will go better with a fish, and a red wine will go better with a steak. And I'm not big on sweet wines either. I like
Mm.
a pretty dry wine. Well, I do like a Cabernet. Uh, it's pretty sweet. That's about as sweet as I like it. I don't like a table wine or dessert wine or after dinner wine or anything like that.
No, I play a lot of wineries, and so I mean, I wouldn't really want to comment on who has the best wine. Uh, but I can tell you a wine I didn't like was a place I didn't play. I think it was Cafe Lola in Johnson City. Have you ever been there?
I have not.
I mean, it's pretty expensive, but it's not too expensive. You should take your woman there someday. I think she'd enjoy it. You probably enjoy it too. Uh, but they had it's like a wine pairing thing they did one time, and it
Hmm.
was like 3 or 4 glasses or something, and the end of it was a dessert wine. It was like drinking chocolate. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I
Like
can't do it.
alcoholic church. I don't like like an alcoholic Hershey bar. Is
Yeah,
what it reminded me of. Yeah,
yeah, no,
I
thank
didn't
you.
find it pleasant.
Yeah, I've tried a few of those over the years, and anything sweeter than like a Cabernet Sauvignon is too much. I tend to go for a red blend or a Pinot Noir.
I couldn't identify them if I tried.
Hmm.
Like I'm
Just
I'm
drink them
very
now.
uneducated on wines. I
I'm
mean,
not
honestly, I just
educated on them. I
never
just
was
drink
into
them, and I
them.
know which ones I like.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, I typically just go for a white, just a white wine, just whatever one, like one of the clear ones are. I know, I guess you call it a rosé, is like one of the pink ones, but I only remember that because it's rose colored. I just don't. I get like you said, I don't like that film that reds and purples and all those real heavy wines
Yeah,
leave on your mouth. It's just uncomfortable to me.
no, I get that. That's one of the reasons I like it. I think this
Maybe
this Dunkel kind of does the same thing.
you
Um,
also like Guinness and stuff like that. Like I know
yeah,
like Goff like that Duck Rabbit, so he's probably in. Yeah, Goff is into reds because I remember he brought a bottle of wine over one time, and it was like what was it, Apothic or something like that, and I
yeah,
swear it was like drinking blood.
yeah.
I
That's
was like,
good
oh my
stuff.
lord, this is so thick. I just did not enjoy the thickness of the wine.
Yeah, I think I have a couple bottles of that. Um, that's one I
Apothic.
rather enjoy. Yeah, I like the
Yeah,
bottles. That's how I decide what wines I get. I like the bottles. If you got badass bottle art and you got a cork and not a screw-on bottle, I'll try your wine. If it's under $20,
um,
yeah.
like 19 Crimes. You ever had it?
I don't think. Oh, 19 Crimes. Yeah, the Australian. Yeah, yeah. I've had a I've had
Or
a couple of theirs. They make a lot of the main wines, but I've had like their red blend and their I think their Pinot Noir.
I just know it by the picture that's on the front of it.
There's I think there's a different prisoner on whichever blend you
Yeah,
get.
yeah. There's one that has Snoop Dogg on it, and I thought it was funny
Oh,
because like he
really?
didn't look like. Yeah,
I've not
yeah,
seen that one.
yeah. He doesn't look like Snoop Dogg though. Like you can kind of tell it's him.
Yeah.
I don't know. He looks like more like a Turkish MMA fighter or something in the picture.
Well, I was going to. I don't know. I've not seen that one. I was going to pull up a image here for our program thumbnail of a crime wave. I don't know if you saw that. I called the episode Crime Wave. And look on the screen, man. It looks like this cop is like ripping this guy's arm off or something, or they're ripping each other. The cop's ripping the cop's arm off. That looks like happening. And then we got like, that's almost like low men in yellow hats or low men in yellow coats from Hearts in Atlantis. That's kind of how I imagine they look. Have you ever read any of the like? Oh yeah, you don't read. Never mind. But if you've ever read any of the Dark Tower or Stephen King's Hearts in Atlantis, there's some henchmen in one of these. They're called low men in yellow coats, and their faces are always kind of shifting. And later you find out it's because they're basically other creatures wearing human suits. But this picture here on screen is kind of makes me think of them. But this is what the AI Stable Diffusion AI designed when I just told it to make me a picture. I just put Crime Wave. I also told it to give me no text, but you see how that worked out. But that's kind of a 60s movie poster, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks kind of like the like a what do you call it? A coloring book for GI Joe.
Yeah, I can see
That's
that
what it
too.
looks like to me.
This over here reminds me of like a movie poster, Crime Wave. And this broad with two arms on her right side is holding some kind of needle nose pliers or something. Looks like she's going right for the jugular of this cop. And this guy.
Did you happen?
Do what?
Speaking of dilapidated faces,
Yeah.
did you happen to see the two people that they caught for the convenience store murder?
I did. We'll go ahead and show that. I was going to go into that. Was one of the reasons I called tonight's episode Crime Wave, because it's like Johnson City and the Tri-Cities in general has had maybe it's not a spike, but it sure, at least with what's being reported and what I'm seeing on scanner food, it sure seems like one. And
It seems like it to me too.
you kind of have to expect that with the exploding population. There's a lot of people with a lot of money moving here. So when a lot of people with a lot of money move to one place, a lot of people without a lot of money also move to that place to, or criminals, to try to take advantage of that.
From Johnson City.
Huh?
I'd say they're probably from Johnson City.
Oh yeah, these guys. Yeah, but I'm just saying the crime wave in general. I'm just saying there's more people who are okay. I guess what I should say is people who are here who are already criminally inclined are going to be more likely to get caught breaking into a wealthy person's home. And with the influx of more wealthy people to the area, I feel like a lot of these, regular petty criminals are probably a lot more likely to caught because they're likely to try a bigger lick or something. But maybe I'm an idiot. But anyway, this.
No, I think you're correct. I think just in this case, it was two dum-dums on meth.
Yeah.
That probably didn't think their actions out very clearly.
Yeah, it was that. Well, it was. It's not only that. You've got to have not just not thinking your actions out clearly. You got to have really no sympathy for human life at all. To.
I'm totally.
I know you're not. I know you're not defending the guy or anything. God, I'm not saying that. But yeah, he's. Let's pull it up real quick. I'll pull up the story where we got the pictures of these two fellows as a father and son. And
the father looks like an AI.
Yeah, he does. They almost both look like this guy right here. Mark Anthony Sexton Jr. and Mark Anthony Sexton III are accused of having murdered this young lady in the commission of a robbery there at, I think it's the one on, was it the one on Broadway in Maine?
It's the one where the Silver Spur used to be, right up the road from it.
At Broadway in Maine, or at like Oakland and
where the Dawn of Hope is?
Oh, that one.
And you got Dawn of Hope, and you got the Walgreens right there. It kind of connects at Unaka.
It's at.
If you go up a little ways, there's a gas station right there next to the laundromat.
At Oakland and Unaka. right across from the Don Hope.
Yep.
Okay. I went to that one today. I didn't even know that was the one that happened at. I thought it happened at Broadway in Maine. Oh, wait a minute. North Broadway Street. Yeah. It says North Broadway Street.
Oh, never mind. I'm wrong one then. Still same area, still sketch.
Yeah. It's right down there near the dump, near Keystone.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's the only one on North Broadway I can think of.
Realize how dumb that is, though. Like, to kill the witness but leave all the cameras. Like, if they would have just left, they would have. I mean, it's a robbery. You know what I'm saying? How stupid that is?
They probably wouldn't even have got caught if they just left, because how much could they have taken?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, they only have $50 or so in the stores overnight or something like that because of that. So, I mean, they get away with $50. They're probably not going to put a lot of resources into tracking these people down. But now you've murdered someone, they're going to send everybody after you. I mean, it's, yeah,
With that hot meth brain going on.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that was involved. But
got one kid. I mean,
there's
folks, I'm not gonna typically make fun of physical stuff just because I understand we're born with the vehicles that we're given. But since this little son of a bitch is a murderer, he looks like a Pop Funko figure with that big ass head.
Well, he's accused of it. I mean, I'm feel pretty confident that they have the right guy here, but we'll wait and see what the justice system says. But yeah, it sure looks like the folks in the pictures and the cops seem pretty confident, and they arrested them pretty quickly. So there is also right now in Johnson City, just happened a little while ago, there was a heavy police presence reported in Johnson City by WCYB. Well, I didn't see this one on WJHL, but then I looked up on Scanner Food, and there was an officer shot. And according to the story here, there was on Scanner Food on Facebook. If you follow that, guys, for your local, they keep up with the police scanner and the emergency radio bands, and post pretty much everything that comes across it. But there was a reporting investigating squatters, and the officer or the occupant. It says the occupant thought the officer was the aggressor. The shooter's in custody, and EMS advises no penetrating wound. The officer's vest stopped the bullet. His condition's unknown, but per radio traffic, it appears to be in line with our reporting. Unknown if the occupant of the home was there legitimately, and JCPD has deferred all media inquiries to the TBI. So TBI is there investigating. I saw that all they had was a heavy police presence in Johnson City on WCYB, and they said that the TBI was there. What's up, Dalton? You greasy geese. You greasy goose.
Man, all this
glad to have you with us, brother.
All this smoke from Canada. I put this cheesy little post.
Is that all from Canada that we're getting?
The smoke, yeah. There's a wildfire from Canada.
Yeah, I heard there was in Nova Scotia.
Well, maybe, I don't know. They're connecting, right?
Oh, that's in Canada, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently it's really drilling like Philadelphia too, because there's like a pocket of, like these mountains trap in like storm systems and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, if you look at the Doppler map right now, in our area, all the way up to like Pennsylvania and places like that, it just this big swirling massive smoke that can't quite escape the mountains because it's so heavy where the rain's pushing it down. So which my allergies are destroyed today. I know that has to be what it is.
Dude, look at my face. My sinuses are inflamed. My whole sinus cavities are red and inflamed. Dalton says smoke's in his area for sure. Yeah, I had heard that it was affecting the New York area because a podcast that I listened to in New York, he said he got out in the evening last night and the sun was pink, and he found out it was because of the smokes from Nova Scotia. And there's just been a haze in the air for a couple of days. I didn't know that's what it was from. That's pretty crazy though. I kind of figured something was burning here. I even smelled something the other day that smelled like wood was burning nearby. It was pretty wild. But yeah, in addition to the heavy police presence in Johnson City tonight, there's just been a whole lot of just wild, mythed out stories here in the news lately. I mean, we don't normally do like crime beat and stuff like that. It's kind of
Maybe we should.
it's kind of like the lowest form of I don't know if it's the lowest form, but it's kind of like the lowest common denominator form of journalism. And we're not
Maybe.
we're not journalists,
like
but
paparazzi would be the
yeah,
step lower.
yeah, that's kind of it's kind of what I feel like.
TMZ.
Well, like the busted paper, you know, it says on there everybody is innocent and proved until proven guilty. But if you get your face on the front page of the busted paper, you know that's really going to sway public opinion against you, especially if you look really bad in the photo or something like that. And you know, I've noticed I haven't seen those papers around in a while. Have they stopped selling those?
Yeah, I've not even checked.
Because it is public record, you know, that all
Yeah.
arrests are public record, and so it's not like it's illegal for them
No,
to
it's
do
not.
that. But I just find it in poor taste, even though I do think it is something that's necessary for the community to, you know, to know who's been arrested for things. If you're gonna, if
We
the
should
cops,
turn the,
I mean,
we
what
should
if your
just turn
family
the
would
Wednesday-
do what?
So we should just turn the Wednesday episodes into a smut piece that just reads off the busted papers and talks about family drama and
Let's call
smears
it
political candidates.
pulp smut.
Yeah. We got Goff out here on the scene. He's got his big ass lens out there taking pictures of the politicians and stuff.
Right in their
But he's only
faces.
taking pictures of their asses for some reason.
And
It's
he's like,
"Goff, what are you
he's like right up next to him with his giant lens,
Yeah.
being very intrusive of
Danny
their public.
Ward's running for office again, and it's just a picture of Daddy's ass. God, why are you
Dustin-
only taking pictures of their ass?
Dustin's all up in there being very intrusive of his personal space and making him dodge the camera, the giant lens as he goes around. There was also this story, man. This one we had. I met some folks who have a YouTube channel called Have a Steph N Lee Day, like Steph and Lee, but Steph dash the letter N
Steph-
dash Lee. Have a
Steph
Steph
Lee
and
Day.
Lee Day. Yeah, there are a couple of folks who come down from Pennsylvania. They have a YouTube channel, so if you're in our local area, you might be interested in checking them out. But I was talking to them, and they were cool folks, and I hope they'll tune in and join us sometime. We were talking about Lee likes talk radio and stuff, and I was hoping he'd jump in here sometime or another. Maybe we'll see them soon. But if you're out there and like this channel, especially in the local area, go check out their channel. Help them get their subscribers up. They seem like pretty cool people. I talked to them for like an hour, and they seem like our people here. So, but in
Under the
Pennsylvania,
chance that they do tune in, I say, well, Tim says, piss all over them. I want to fight. That way, maybe they'll, they have to.
that'll
engage
keep them
now.
coming back, won't it? They'll have to
Yeah, they're
engage.
like,
Yeah.
son of a bitch, we gotta fight that Tim. He's an
we
asshole.
can't stand for this son of a bitch. Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. Good strategy, Tim.
Man, have you seen that episode? And we're going to keep coming back to Seinfeld, folks. I'm sorry. Have you seen that episode of Seinfeld where he works for those guys from Texas, and he keeps having to say "son of a bitch" over and over again?
Son of a
and he gets in the
bitch.
habit of, he gets in the habit of saying it. He's like,
Yeah.
"You bastards." That's what I felt like I was doing there for a second, slipping into cussing for no reason though.
And Tommy, my father-in-law, if you happen to be out there tonight, I was talking to your daughter tonight and told her one of the ways you can tell you're getting older is because you quit saying "God damn" and you started saying "Gollo." That's definitely an old man's word. Gollo is an old man's word. But anyway, let's continue the stories tonight. We're talking Pennsylvania and Tennessee transplants. Well, there was a reverse transplant that was intercepted by the 814. Let's see, what is it? What's it called? Where is their name?
I don't even know.
One moment. 814 Pred Hunters. Is that one you're familiar with, Tim?
Man,
I know you watched a lot of
unsubscribed.
these guys.
I do very, very deep dives on subjects. I've actually unsubscribed and unfollowed every single Predator watcher that is on the planet because it just got too heavy, and I got bored with the topic.
Well, I understand
Right
that.
now, Yeah, it's something you just can't sit there and watch stuff like that all the time. Right now, I've just really been immersed in court. I don't know why. I think maybe I've time traveled with some kind of like a Mandela effect, and I've aged 10 years or 15 years older than I really am, and become really fascinated with court stuff. But not because like court TV was boring, right?
Yeah.
But like you go to YouTube now or other streaming things, and you can find like court cases because Zoom just has so many court cases, and it really gives you like a periscope into how that stuff really works.
Hang on just a second. I think I got somebody on our IMH live line. Let me see if I can join them in.
Do it.
Nope, my imagination. I'm going to invite Tim in here. Maybe we can all jump together. Okay. Sorry about the dead air, folks. I thought I had somebody on the line there. It was giving me initials on the IMH chat line. Well, now it's gone. So I guess maybe somebody was there and they left. Sorry about that. If I missed you, please call back. If you'll send me a chat here on the Skype, you can go to the IMH live here. The link that you just followed here, Mr. Guest User. And if you'll type a message on there, I will send you back the link so you can jump into mine and Tim's call. So we'd love to have you with us. So sorry, we've never actually had this work right. We've never actually had anybody call while we were doing the show. People have called after the show, and I haven't been able to talk to them. I guess they were watching the replay. But if you'll jump back in here, I will get you in. Or if you'll send me a message in that chat room, I will get you in with me and Tim. So definitely come on back. We want to have you with us. Sorry, I have to keep the show program up and running, and then I have to hide the Skype window behind it. So I kind of can't watch everything all at the same time. I guess I need an extra monitor. Let's try it this way with split screen mode. Maybe we'll do a little better. But definitely, Mr. or Mrs. Guest User, jump back in there and give us a message. And now I can't even. There we go. Muffin.
Yeah, I was eating chips pretty loud there for about 30 seconds, folks. I'm sorry. I don't know what got into me. I was just crunching away on a chip. I was like, that's probably loud. That's probably something they can hear. So
I couldn't really hear it. I didn't notice it. Well, my brain was on trying to get whoever was trying to call in the show, so I probably wouldn't even. Oh, I'm back off of you. Let's get back on to Tim here. There we go.
I've been off. It's all good. My head don't need to be on there.
Yeah, it does. Well, the police say that this Greenville man traveled to Pennsylvania to meet with a teen, according to the 814 Pred, or this is from WTAG out of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. And the man from Greene County, he was from Mohawk, Tennessee, right down here about an hour away from us, said it is what it is after he was caught trying to meet what he thought was a teenage girl for sex in Pennsylvania. This 67-year-old man out of Mohawk was arrested and charged when he showed up at McDonald's to meet a girl who he thought was a girl. It was actually operatives from the group 814 Pred Hunters, and they gave all the text messages where he said that he wanted to bring her back to Tennessee after, we'll just leave out everything other than spend a night at a motel room with her and take her back to Tennessee. And police noted that Brown also said he wanted to give the teen a better life. Don't they always say that? Oh, I was just trying to help her. I was trying to set her straight.
Did you know that that is completely, like, whether or not the police do anything is completely based on the area that they're in?
Yeah. Because when they give them that evidence, the predator hunters, it's not always going to guarantee an arrest.
Yeah. So that's why a lot of them don't even get the cops involved. As bad as that sounds, uh, because once the cops are involved, they know that it kind of changes the game a little bit, like because
Yeah.
they have to play by different rules.
Yeah.
But if you like look at, I think it's Dads Against Predators, they're probably one of the more popular ones right now out of Ohio. They don't get the cops involved; they just go embarrass the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then if they give them a little bit of flack, they kick their ass.
Make them a social pariah. I mean, honestly, that's the goal, is to stop these people from offending. So even if they can't get enough to arrest them out of it, at least you've made the public aware that this person's out there trying to do these things and to stay away from them. They're not trustworthy. So, yeah, I mean, that is a public service, but then there's the others who are just doing it for attention and almost like it's. How do you say it's a bad thing
Content.
to entrap?
That's one of the problems.
Do what?
Is its content. So it's not a bad thing in the sense that I think people should stop exposing criminals, because it's not just the Preds. There are also people that are catching thieves with glitter bombs. There's also guys like Jim Browning who go and catch scammers who go after old people's pension funds and stuff like that. He specifically just back traces scam numbers to try to get them arrested and stuff. That's really interesting stuff. The scam call people. The kind of dark side to it is people know that predator catching is popular content, so it kind of attracts some catchers that aren't really good people. They just know it's good content.
There you go. That's what I was trying to. Yeah, I think that was what I was trying to say without really knowing that was what I was trying to say.
Yeah. It's just like anything else. Sometimes it attracts sometimes the people catching you don't really want to root for them either.
Yeah. Well, like some cops that I told you about, and well, you remember when I told you in an earlier episode of this show, I told all our viewers that I was arrested on a drug charge over 20 years ago, and I ended up having no charges stick, but basically I would never have gotten any cocaine for somebody unless these cops had called up my friend and had him call me and ask him and bring it to him. And they knew I wasn't a cocaine dealer, but they didn't care. They were going to go ahead and get their bust, and they were, that was what's going to happen. Well, they gave me like $100,000 or $200,000 bond, I think, for delivery or sale of Schedule 2. This guy got a $75,000 bond. When I was in court, now this was back in 2003, the judge gave a lower bond than I had to a person accused of murder in the court with us at the same time. And but yeah, this guy here gets a $75,000 bond, but he's in Jefferson County Prison up there in Pennsylvania, and there he'll be until at least June 8th. So that's tomorrow. But hopefully they'll keep him up there and not send him back to Greenville. We don't need him in Greene County, that's for sure.
God, the Green. Well, no, that was Ohio.
What's up, Spill? She's getting smoke all the way in Central California.
Is it wildfires from Canada? Because they get wildfires like in California too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Nova Scotia's on eastern Canada. I don't know if that's the only wildfire going on there or not. Spills, there wildfire out there nearby you, or are you getting it all the way over here from Nova Scotia? Y'all jump in that Skype. The Skype description's in the link, or the Skype link is in the description. If you'd like to join us here, click that link and you can chat with us on there. And
she says there's fires in California.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
well,
so
hell,
click the link in the description. Chat with us, and I'll invite you into mine, Tim's call.
We might be getting smoke from both directions, and if we're getting it from Canada and California.
Yeah, I guess we do get jet stream from Northern California and Western
Damn smoke
Canada.
Back, Bill.
Do what?
7 wildfires?
Wow. Already. It's only June.
Good googly, man. Well, it's raining here.
Yeah, for one day in the last, 2 weeks? That's the only rain we've had, I think.
Well, maybe it'll rain a bunch this year and we won't get all the wildfires that we normally get.
Do you remember when well, you lived here in the early '90s, didn't you?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You remember, or it might have been the late '80s. We had a really bad drought, and we would have droughts regularly. We had a really, really bad one. Probably, I don't know, 80, 87, 88, something like that. And the ground was just dry and cracked for the whole summer. We didn't have any rain for like 2 months or something like that. I mean, it was crazy, but we would have long periods with no rain here for, through the early '90s, and we really haven't had that lately, have we? That I remember.
No, it's been that way. It's been different for probably since then.
Yeah.
We've talked about the rainfall on this show quite a few times because it does it. If you look at the precipitation, even though it falls differently, it's about the same as Seattle.
Yeah.
We just get all of ours a big burst, and they get a constant. They get like a constant light drizzle all the time, whereas we get these big tropical storms about once or twice a week.
All right, Spill
Which
later.
I like
Thanks for
quite a
joining
bit,
us.
to be honest.
She says that's
I actually
our
like them.
eviction notice from China's. Alvin says, "Hey, midnight shift shows up early." Yes, indeed. Alvin says the last drought was around 06, 07. Here, I've been joined by my daughter's dog, Stock. Come here. Come here, you fat son of a gun. Come here.
Right here.
He'll usually try to climb up on my lap when I'm doing the show and he comes in here. So let's just go ahead and get it over with. He's too big to be a lap dog. Come on, buddy. All right, he's going to go on. No, he's going to be up here.
No Bork hour. I was hoping for
No, Mr. Redenborker, Orville Redenborker hasn't made a appearance on the show in a while.
been a while.
Stock's decided he's going to stay off camera this time. Here, let's.
Mine's asleep or I'd disturb him.
Okay.
Spill says we've been getting lightning storms and that causes fires. But yeah, it's different out there though because it does stay
Nervous.
pretty sticky. It stays pretty sticky on Appalachia. So when lightning strikes, it doesn't cause as many fires as it does out there, I guess.
He doesn't want to be on camera today, I guess. Sorry about my poor camera work, folks.
That's okay. The motion sickness is good for our health.
That's upside down.
Leave it. We'll be different. We'll be the upside down hour and only talk about Stranger Things since I didn't do it that one episode.
Well, I was trying to have Mr. Stock on the show, but his camera shy tonight.
Is he the big one that's all bark and no bite?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
fine.
he's half cattle dog and half pug. But for some reason, he looks like a Rottweiler with a white patch instead of a brown patch. And people are terrified of him because he does bark a lot, but anytime somebody comes towards him, he'll back away. It's my dog that's nice that, the bad guys would have to worry about. My dog that anybody would have to worry about is the friendly one. But, he's friendly to everybody that's friendly to him. But this guy here, he just barks and backs away and he'll chase you and nip at you, but he won't actually.
Alvin and Spill are talking about something I'm not familiar with. I can only speak that in the national forests, it's very obvious if you go on the West Coast where they go through and get all the timber up and put it in big piles and do the controlled burns so they can't have the big wildfires in the national forest.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever do that on our side?
They've done some of it here. They did one recently. Earlier this year, they did a controlled burn on Holston.
Okay.
It was probably a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, they do it from time to time. I do remember when they were having all those. Yeah, Alvin says, I was thinking all that dead wood laying around nowadays is what causes the wildfires. Yeah. Yeah, they used to let people clean up the wood to sell, and they did that regularly as part of their forest management program out there for some time. And apparently, I don't know if it was in California they were doing it, but I do remember in I think 2019 or 2020 they were having really bad wildfires out there. The Campfire wildfire and the Paradise wildfire, where those that recently, or were those older ones? But anyway, they
Paradise
had
was about 5 years ago, if I'm not
okay.
mistaken.
Well, they had a few. I remember it was while Trump was in office, because the media was making fun of Trump for saying that they should, I believe he said rake the forest floor, but he was basically describing, cleaning up all the downed wood and all this stuff, and having controlled burns, and the media was like, "Oh yeah, how do you rake a forest? Isn't Trump stupid?" But
Yeah, they need to in some times though, but they actually
well,
that's not the first thing.
they
But
did
they just
start
assume
regularly
everything he
doing it.
says is something stupid. That's why they get those Trumpisms, because they just assume everything he says is stupid.
Yeah,
Uh, Alvin mentioned Gatlinburg. What made the one in Gatlinburg was actually it was like the wind, right?
yeah. That's why it was. That
Like
was why it was so hard to deal with and kept going forever.
like
Yeah,
a like a flamethrower. Like the wind was blowing. Man, I remember the wind was blowing like 40 miles an hour or something
yeah.
crazy that week. So
It turned the
I'm sure
valley into a blast furnace there. It destroyed a whole lot. There was all kinds of like cabins and chalets and things that were just,
Mhm.
they never had a chance. And I think quite a few people died. There's actually a lot of people die in Gatlinburg. It's like kind of the little dark secret of the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area. There's a lot of people die from a lot of different things. Like there's kind of a high rate of murder. Um,
Is there?
there's well, I don't want to say murder, but let's just say suspicious sounding deaths. We'll say there's a lot of accidents. People wrecking coming down from chalets and rolling their cars down the hill and dying. Um, there was I don't know if you remember this several years ago, but there was a incident where a whole bunch of people like in a hot tub died, and then another group of people in a hot tub died, and then a helicopter crashed, and it was almost like there was some group that was in town that was taken out. I don't remember the details to it, but it was very strange. And then it was like a couple years after that, I saw a show on Discovery or something like that. This was probably like 2013, 14, when all that weird stuff happened in Gatlinburg. And I saw a program on Discovery like right after Trump was in office, probably 2017, late 2017. And it was basically, to me, it felt like the whole thing was propaganda to basically tell you Russians are everywhere and Trump's working with the Russians. But they did have some compelling stuff about a Russian cell operating outside of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and are trying to get into Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and having successfully done it. And they were operating out of the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area. So that was like, well, I remember all those, weird deaths that happened there with the hot tubs and the helicopter crashes. They were right within a span of a couple days, like 20 people died. And I always thought that was pretty strange. And then I remember seeing that show and wondering if the two were connected in some way or another. But I hope not, because if I'm onto something, I'd probably be easy to find.
Yeah. You ever seen the Pelican Brief?
Yeah. Bill says she's just waiting. Oh, you're waiting on your meeting. Alvin said she had a couple. Alvin said he has a couple friends who lost their chalet, but the underlying cause was dead wood that they quit cleaning up. Yep. Now, I have a friend who works a bug route, exterminating route in Gatlinburg, and he's wrecked like 3
Is that what
times.
they call it? A bug route?
Well, no, that's not really what they call it.
No. Is it bug slumming?
That's just something I just said.
Oh, okay.
No,
all right. Because I was about to say, believe it or not, as a psychology dropout, one of my favorite things to do is I used to like to catch, especially in my lunch break when I worked at Food City and places like that, was to catch other groups of people on lunch. And I used to love going to Wendy's on a Saturday because all the mailmen from around the area would meet there. And you could sit there and listen to them talk, because they would talk about the mail the whole time they were on lunch, and you'd sit there and learn their mail lingo. Like I'd be like, "Oh, I was over on a hop and walk over on G Street." I just sit there and listen to it. I don't know why I thought that was such good entertainment, but I thought when you said on a bug route, I was like, "Ooh, we're learning the pesticide lingo now."
No, actually, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody use that. That's just something I just now said.
Okay, well.
But I have a friend who runs a pest control route. That's usually what you say, a pest control route. But nothing as exciting as bug route. We do have little lingo, but we'll save that for another show. But but he's wrecked like 3 times coming down off those mountains, and There's been a lot of other people wrecked. They're very dangerous. Some of the paths up to those places.
Yeah, especially for people. But remember
Well,
we
that's what I
talked
mean is with people with.
about
Oh, go
used
ahead.
to it. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm not saying that people aren't going to be used to these roads.
Yeah.
And like you saw, there was a truck on Scanner Food that was up in Virginia somewhere, up like Coburn, I think. Tried to go down one of those snaky back roads. It looks like Shady Valley, and he couldn't get the trailer to go down there, and
Yeah.
went half and half on the turn.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's Alvin says, "Yo, Tim, better stay away from the hobo shoestring. He's like all kinds of lingo of the rails."
Well, I'll bring Hobo Shoestring on. I won't listen to him.
Hell yeah. Well, listen, we're getting at about 5 to 11, so let's go ahead and finish this one up. I want to get into the crime wave in Johnson City of the Reign of Terror of 1926. You ever heard of this?
No.
Well, we're going to go back to the Johnson City Staff News from October 20th of 1926 by an editorial by editor of the paper, Carol E. King. Will it require an atrocious murder? We'll do what?
Carol King.
Carol King.
Carol King songs playing by the whole time.
Carol E. King. I do not know if this is a man or a woman.
That's true. That's true. Carol is a yeah. Okay.
Let's just see here. This is kind of during 20th Amendment or what Prohibition era. Let's see. Will it require an atrocious murder, a series of holdups, a veritable reign of terror to jar the smug, satisfied citizens of Johnson City, Tennessee into a realization of what is going on within the city? You, who are self-centered in your own affairs and who are not interested so long as your life, your property, and your well-being is not disturbed, will probably glance through this editorial and comment that we are exaggerating the state of affairs. But are we? Are you competent to judge? Have you been following events closely as it relates to the welfare and the city and its citizens? Do you fully appreciate the tenacious grip the criminal and undesirable element is getting on Johnson City? Do you want the outside world to begin to see daily stories of lawlessness rampant in Johnson City? Do you? Certainly you
don't. I'm thinking this personal now.
If she did all caps back in 1926. If she did all caps in 1926, you gotta bulge the eyes out and you gotta rip that puppy in there. So she says, Carol continues. I feel like this is.
Oh, hold on. Is this 2 R's or 1 R?
Let's just see here. That's
what Alvin.
2 R's and 2 L's.
So Alvin, what does that mean? Male or female? And this is 1920, so we're allowed to gender here. Unless this was someone super progressive back in 1926, but I really doubt it.
Well, the progressive movement started in the early 20th century, but I don't think we were that far along at that time.
Man, all right, we got a man, so let's gender that puppy.
Okay, so let's continue. Certainly you don't want the outside world to begin to see daily stories of lawlessness rampant in Johnson City. But your very apathy at this time, when a crisis is in battle between law and order and the forces opposing it is at hand, and nothing more nor less than encouragement to the underground organization which is seeking to strangle Johnson City. Even the city fathers, the council, and the commission do not fully appreciate the true situation. Of that we feel sure, for if they did, they would see to it that the police department was adequately equipped to oppose the lawless element. Today, Johnson City is overrun with criminals, would-be criminals, thieves, thugs, gunmen, dope peddlers, and other undesirables who are working hand in hand. Oh, I should be reading it like this. Who are working hand in hand with the liquor ring who spread their evil influence so that its effect has reached into the juvenile element, and more than a score of little boys are striving to emulate the lawbreakers who are apparently being glorified in Johnson City and Washington County. Our very courts are apparently inoculated at the general tone of apathy, else they would hand out sentences sufficient to severe to make an evildoer or a would-be evildoer hesitate before perpetrating a crime. But the sentences are so light and is apparently so very easy to escape penalties of law that the criminals scorn any fear of punishment. Does this sound familiar?
You got the right tone, but you slow it down just a little. I think you got the right 20s voice.
Oh, could you not understand me?
Evildoers.
Yeah. What is the actual situation in Johnson City today? We have an efficient, clean, well-administered police department made up of good, average citizens. These men are sworn to defend the lives and the property of the citizens of Johnson City at the risk or sacrifice, if need be, of their own lives. For this service, they need receive less pay than a skilled laborer. But it is not the payoff of which we speak. The officers do not complain. They go ahead at all hours of the day and night doing their duty. But to what end? Does any of this sound familiar? Kind of sounds like the same rhetoric we hear. Oh, your grandfather's name was Carol. I always think of, well, now I can't think of his name. The guy on In the Heat of the Night, Carol O'Connor, that's his name. And All in the Family, or was that what it was? One of those 70s, one of those 70s television show. It was the one with Rob Reiner. That was All in the Family, right? Or is that?
All in the Family had Archie Bunker.
Oh yeah. What's the other one? What's the other one? 8 is Enough? No, hell, I don't know. I can't remember.
Oh,
Carol O'Connor was in one of those shows. I remember he was in the Heat of the Night. Hey, thanks, Sean.
God,
I just get a bit angry when I talk about these rapscallions. Do what?
I won't describe it. I'll just let you know that if you want to ruin your day, there is a very enthusiastic corner of the internet that has included Archie Bunker's lovely wife into the world of pornography, mostly through hand-drawn art.
You kind of blew my mind there, Tim, when the hand-drawn art. I mean, I was a little flabbergasted anyway, but when you went with hand-drawn art, it kind of blew me away there. Now, let's see. Alvin says, oh, thanks, Sean. He says, great 20s announcer voice. Alvin says this was the area of the lawless when this region was dealing with moonshiners and the Chicago mob that was trying to get in on the action. All in the Family, Sean says, and says I got that Walter Winchell thing going on.
Carol O'Connor sounds like an Illuminati plug to me.
Hey, yep. Let's see here. Let's finish the letter here. We'll call it quits for the night. Oh, it's kind of long, so maybe we won't finish the whole thing, but I do want to go to this other section down here. Today in Johnson City, there is a skilled police officer who is living under the black threat of death. Several times during the past few weeks, a certain criminal has tried to get him. Twice he almost did so. With the handicaps now imposed upon the police department, that officer is forced to stand idly by and take no steps to protect himself. And why has he been threatened? Because he enforced the law and made an arrest which did not meet the approval of the man being arrested.
Alvin brings up that this was a time when the Chicago mob was trying to get. That does make a lot of sense that they would have some sway in like news publications and stuff, you know.
Sure.
So I wonder who they're talking about in the publication. Are they talking about the mob, or are they talking about the hillbilly moonshiners that are running around?
Well, let's read this part right here. All right, we're going to read like a few more paragraphs of this, but we'll get the answer to your question here, I think. It has now reached the point. Let's see here. Wait a minute. Let me start the one right before this. Next Saturday, 3 officers will be before the courts for defending themselves against the attack of a gunman. 2 of the officers narrowly escaped death. Today, it is rumored that a veritable maze of testimony is being prepared to glorify the gun wielder and penalize the officers. I thought this was interesting, and particularly in light of the squatter / occupant, we don't know yet, over there in Johnson City shooting the cop. But it has now reached the point where no police officer can respond to a call for help until an investigation has been made to determine whether or not it is a private fight, a personal killing, or a justifiable crime. Calls coming into the police station must be carefully investigated, else the officers will be up in court for trespassing or breaking and entering, or some other trumped-up charge. Now, like Alvin said, this was during the time with the whiskey run and stuff. And one thing we have to remember is Johnson City actually was a boom town, and there's a show. There's actually a store in downtown Johnson City called Boomtown and Company, because it was a boom town in the early 1900s. There was a railroad coming through here at Johnson's Depot. Well, they also what kind of was a beeline between the Atlanta and Florida area and Chicago. There was a lot of liquor run up through there, and a lot of liquor made in the hills of East Tennessee and Western North Carolina made its way up to Chicago. And we've done the show on Weird Al Capone, so y'all go back and check that if you want to. We talked about the Montrose Court Apartment and the what was that hotel called? The Windsor Hotel, John Sevier Hotel, and all the rumors and stories of Al Capone in this area. Old Weird Al, but this is from that era, is when the Roaring Twenties of in Johnson City. Now Johnson City at this time, it had gone from a population of like 5,000 to 25,000 in a very, very short time. And when Prohibition actually ended, and I mean, we kind of kept growing up until the Great Depression. Great Depression, the area kind of slowed down, and then when Prohibition was over, it just kind of, the population of Johnson City was stagnant for a really long time. So it was a big boom, and then kind of like when Prohibition ended and Great Depression and all that good stuff, all the terrible things that inflicted on the country, Johnson City stayed stagnant for quite a long time until, I think it was like probably the 60s and 70s that started picking back up, and then it really boomed again here over the last 20 years. But
there was a big boom in the 80s with college.
Yeah, with ETSU and the mall was put in the late 70s. So yeah, that's probably what more accurate than what I said.
But then it did die. It did really tank there for a long time as far as like leveling off. But here lately, the growth's been crazy. Speaking of which, the growth. Did you bring up the new phone number? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I didn't bring it up. What was it, 489 or 289 or something?
I have no idea what it is, but apparently so many people here have moved to this area so quickly they're out of numbers, and they've had to invent a new area code, which full circle brings us back to an episode of Seinfeld again, because there's an episode where Elaine has to change her number because for some reason, and when she changes her number, they give her a new area code despite her living in the exact same spot. And she can't get any of the guys to date her because they think they're going to have to drive too far to pick her up.
I don't remember that one. I've seen every Seinfeld, I'm sure, but I don't remember that one. There's it looks like that's Main Street, or is that Spring Street? That's Main Street.
I don't know. I recognize that.
That's Johnson City from the 1920s, about the time this letter was written. About the time this editorial was written.
I guess it is because it's so long. It kind of looks like it's facing down towards like where Mecca used to be there for a minute, but I guess it would be too short to be that. There's your apartments now, right? That white building.
I'm not sure where we are. Is this? I believe this is Main Street looking east towards. No, that can't be right.
What's that?
I believe this is Spring Street. Looking up Spring Street from Main Street, stand in the middle of Spring Street. Right over here is the old bank. Yeah. No, and then
sign say the awning.
No, that wouldn't be right. I don't know. Let's see.
Can you zoom in on that marquee?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can. Hang on just a second.
Look at all those cars look exactly the same.
Model A's and Model T's were the order of the day. I can't tell what that says. Can you?
Well, no. My eyes are garbage. So
that might have been.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was Spring Street. Okay, it is. It was in the title of the photo.
I recognize that white building.
Yeah, it was where I thought it was, but it just looks so different now. And here's the World War I victory celebration in downtown Johnson City. Welcome home, boys. This is Freiburg's right here. This was the First National Bank at the time.
I said mail stamping coins would be next to that.
Yep, that's right. There's old buildings there.
That chaotic mess of wires going everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is 1918, so it's pretty new.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
I'm on a little bit of a lag, so I'm seeing differently. Next to that light pole, there's children and like a almost like you'd see if like a circle pit opened, that's what kind of like it looks like. Can you zoom in on the grass where the circle pit would be?
Right here.
Hold on. Right there where the little girl is, next to the pole. I think that's right. Yeah. Folks, do you see? Grass. It's the first time we actually have a photo of grass pre
Tim's
1950.
mad about the
So the
mud everywhere.
conspiracy can be put to rest. That's grass right there. That's the first time there's grass. So maybe they invented Johnson City may have invented grass. That might be the issue.
I think you're right. That's Fountain Square. This is Main Street over here. All right, let's finish up this article here with from Carol O'Connor.
Hey, all
Let's see.
7 people that are left, could you like the video real quick? Just try and get this thing over 375 subscribers. I'm a little anally retentive about numbers, and that thing's been going back and forth for a while.
That's true. We sure would appreciate that. Because we tried, look, if y'all can get us to 1,000 people, and we can just continue all hanging out together, but then YouTube will start putting commercials on our replays, and they'll give us a little bit of money for it. So, and if you guys want to send us tips that way, you can do that too. But we are also on Rumble, so go check that out too. Let's see here. Alvin says, Tim, some things just cannot be unseen.
He says put a sidewalk. Yeah, exactly.
Quick, somebody put a sidewalk there. Well, that's what they did with the meth walk down. That's what we call it. Down at the meth walk. Meth walk. You know, we were doing that Afro Man story that one night, and he did the song, and it was a rip off of Boardwalk. And right at about the same time, Johnson City was putting in the sidewalks down there under the interstate where pretty much only the unscrupulous elements of society trek. And I guess maybe they were wanting other people to do that, but I just don't see people who have cars and have places to be taking the time to walk underneath the interstate there on Rome Street on the 5-lane to look at the hummingbird picture. It's a nice picture, but that's why they said they want to
put some more buildings there.
Do what?
Do you think that's possible? Like, do you think they plan on
it's
pushing
probable.
the buildings in closer?
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to add more.
I do agree with it. It's not even like it's a bad part of town. It's just a long ass walk because you have to park at like Target or something, or the Greek restaurant Babylon or something. Because it's
and most of the people I see doing it look like they're fucked up on drugs. Most people I see walking through there. I know I'm not saying everybody that walks is, but I sure see a lot of people wandering out into traffic, not knowing where they're going. So. Alvin says, quick, somebody put a sidewalk there. Did his bit. JC was like St. Paul, Minnesota, where the law had a layer of agreement with the law's elements. Yeah, that was the same in a lot of places. But we'll finish this pig out here. If I can find my article. Here we go.
Of clothing, you can take your pants off again.
It says, we trust they are but few. Let's see here. Calls for officers must necessarily explain the nature of the offense, its location, who is making the call, and other vital information. Yet to go to the other extreme, a complaint was last week filed by 2 reputable citizens that a police officer had asked too many questions when they called for an officer and that he had embarrassed them by asking their names. Is that the kind of citizen who makes up the mass of Johnson City? We trust they are but few, yet it is typical. The sheriff and his organizations and the police department are called at all hours of the night and day, many times to find the charges trivial or the case just one of personal spite. If they make no arrest, they are criticized. If they do make an arrest, they are penalized. The dry organizations demand enforcement of the law, but if the officers encounter resistance, they dare not use force or they will be confronted with the penitentiary. So this is talking a lot about enforcement of the vice and the booze laws, just like we're talking about. But they go on to say, in no other city of the United States will this condition be permitted. In Canton, Ohio, a similar situation prevailed until a group of upright, sincere, and honorable citizens took matters into their own hand. But in Canton, the police department was besmirched and the citizens were handicapped. Here in Johnson City, it is a police department of which any small city might well be proud, but the citizens of the city are not supporting it. They go on to say, to continue, to conclude, It is a shameful state of affairs and a blot on the good name of Johnson City. It is positively not exaggerating to say that unless the citizens of this city get behind the police department and the citizens of the country, the citizens of the county get behind the sheriff's office and cooperate and assure them of their support, it will not be long until Johnson City will be stunned by the commission of some horrible crime or will be prostrate beneath a crime wave of mass proportions. It is time that the good citizens were up and doing. The Johnson City newspapers are taking no one's word for conditions. They have investigated and know. What are you going to do about it? Now, do you remember about that time we read another article that was kind of similar? Well, no, I guess it wasn't. It was kind of similar. It was about the prostitutes operating there. Do you remember
I remember you talking about prostitutes several times, but I never knew that you wanted to actually bring that up publicly. But we can talk about your addictions.
that? Well, don't bring up my time on the herpes dating site again, Tim.
Sorry for covering it, folks. I'm running out of battery. I got to plug this thing in.
We're about done here. We're all done here, folks. Let's get out of here for the night. I appreciate y'all joining us. Just bring it up. What's that?
Booyah. I said it was going to die in like 2%, so it wasn't really a I'm trying to get off thing. It was a if I don't plug it up, I'll probably not even get to say goodbye thing.
Okay. Well, it's time to go anyway. It's 11:15. Alvin says, prostitutes where? Well, apparently back in this article that we read on the previous show, the cops basically knew where all the prostitutes, who they were and where they were operating, and was, at this time they had run them all out of town, and they were satisfied that there were only 2 prostitutes operating in Johnson City at the time. But there were about 25 right before that they knew of that were operating in Johnson City.
It's probably a weird way for us to go out, but maybe people can tell us how they feel. I'm just wondering. We seem to have this balancing act that we do as a society where some things are considered to be grouped on good people, and then some people are considered, I guess the one way we do it is we put it on the right and we put it on the left or whatever. But it seems like we've started tossing. It seems like the right and the left have started trading values a little bit more,
Yeah.
Like, when we were growing up, the left was very, very adamant about protecting Muslims.
Well, yeah.
And currently we're seeing Muslims going to war over parents' rights with the left.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
the left was
a crazy
anti-war
thing.
when we were kids too.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, do you think at some point some of these values will get shifted around? And I mean for logic's sake too, like do you ever think there'll be a time where the right will actually be okay with the idea of legalized prostitution? Is, I guess, a quick way for me to get into that, because I never thought I'd see the right be okay with recreational drugs, but they're loosening up a whole lot on that,
Yeah, it's. I think they will, because it's kind of like the meme shows that it's a meme that a lot of conservatives like to share, and it's like it's people running for president in 2032 or 2040 or something like that, and it shows the Democrat, is a donkey, and he's got like his ear pierced and wearing sunglasses, and he's like, oh, I don't think the Republican is a transphobe or something, and then the Republican is an elephant wearing sunglasses and with his ears pierced and tattooed, and he's like, no, the Democrats are the real alien sexual phobes or something like that, so it's basically we're moved over to, it's basically what they call the Overton window is shifted so far to the left that the Republicans of the future and the present really are attacking the Democrats' old positions which they now hold. You know what I'm saying? Like the conservative positions that a lot of Democrats held in the 1990s, the Republicans are right now actually attacking those as, racist and sexist, because it's shifted that far in that direction. But there's other ways it's shifted in the other direction. Abortion rights for one thing, or what do you call it? Pro-life groups with the Roe v. Wade thing going the opposite way that it had been for so long, and you've got a lot of gun rights going. You've got a lot like the right paying a lot more attention to free speech. So it's kind of like people like to say the Overton window is shifting so far to the left, and it is in some ways, but other ways it's shifting to the right, because I see a lot of like.
It's shifting? Do you think it's like it looks to me, instead of like a singular window shifting from spot to spot, it looks more like we've put all of the principles and ideas and stuff, and we've got them like in like a giant, like a boggle shaker thing, like everything's getting shaken up.
Yeah.
And, it's because at one point in time, it was easy for everybody to say this was wrong or that was right, because, everybody was pretty grouped.
Yeah.
But right now, you've got a lot of non-white religious groups moving from the left and going to the right, specifically because of stances that the left is taking.
Well,
I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that, and I'm going, oh, that's how you get a super conservative country, is you unite all the religious people onto one side.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what they're doing.
Well, I mean, you've got, like you said, all the Muslim people, and then you've got all the Hispanic Catholics coming up from the South. And, for the longest time, the Hispanic Catholics were could be counted on to be left wing whenever they did get citizenship or the ability to vote. But even if they didn't get the ability to vote, they added to that state's electoral vote count, or added to that state's number of representatives, because even if the illegal aliens aren't voting, if they're being counted in the census, then that state can have more representatives once it reaches a certain threshold. So a lot of the non-legal citizens, illegal aliens, and visa workers and things like that, they get counted on the census in somewhere like, say, Los Angeles. So then you got like 12 million people in Los Angeles, like, oh well, y'all need 2 more representatives or whatever it is. But you're also bringing all those people in, and you're giving them a chance to get citizenship, and now you've got them up here, and they were first, you thought they could be counted on to vote for Democrats and be a liberal voter, a liberal citizen, because those were the people who helped get them up here, and they figure, well, these people are just going to vote the way we want. But it actually turns out Mexicans and Latin Americans are pretty conservative, especially with their family values and things like this.
Well, I think when you corner people, though, it changes it, like, because it's no longer even about appealing to what people are doing. It's about who's not attacking us directly. Catholics were taking it on the chin there for a minute, because,
Well, yeah.
So,
and well, that's what I mean, is the left is really attacking a lot of the fundamental values of people who come from Mexico, and not even really religious fundamental values, but just like, most of the people who come from Mexico are Christian or Catholic, and when they come to the North, the same people who are supposed to be looking out for them are also, advocating abortion, advocating gay marriage, and all these things that, that were, we all pretty much accepted in, I guess, the early 2000s or the late 2000s, that it was kind of how things were. But the folks from Mexico, they kind of didn't really like those things. So I don't know what will happen in the future, but I see what you're saying.
I know what's going to happen. We're looking at instead of United States of America, you're going to take Las Vegas and stretch it across most of the United States, because Vegas, like I said, is the best city because it's the most honest city. But what people don't know about Vegas, unless you stay there for a minute, is it's a weirdly religious city.
Yeah.
It's like it's owned by a lot of Mormons, and there's a heavy Christian presence. It's a really strange thing. It's a really weird thing to see so many vices all openly in one spot, and so many Christians just like, well, that's what they've decided to do. And I feel like that's where we're heading as a culture, is we're going to decide to say, you know what, guys, you can have your drugs, you can have them all legalized, you can have your prostitution, you can have any vice you want to, but you're not telling us that we can't have our religion. And that's kind of what Vegas does. Like, Vegas it's anything goes. And I mean, at some point, America's going to have to come to that sort of, everybody gets to kind of do it, but I feel like it's going to overtip in the other direction. And be a little heavy
We've
handed.
talked about that pendulum swinging back the other way.
Yeah.
It's like this time this pendulum may be spring loaded, and that's what we're hoping against. But anyway,
Yeah.
so let's read these last couple chats from Alvin. We'll get out of here tonight. Alvin says the extreme left and the extreme right are a lot closer than the middle of the road, folks. And yes, they will come around. Yep, I think you're right, Alvin. He also says it's like going to the drive-in. We're all watching the same movie. Some are parked at the concession stand, some at the playground, some in the makeout section, and some in the tailgating section. And that's a pretty good metaphor for it, Alvin. Well, listen, y'all, I appreciate y'all for joining us tonight. Tim, thank you. I'm going to get off here. I've got to pee really bad because I've drank 2 beers while I was sitting here.
Do it live. Get us banned.
See you guys. Have a good night. We'll see you Sunday.